Hello arcade gamers, and welcome back to Biggie D's Arcade. Tonight I've got 2K running on my webcam. I don't know how. I installed some drivers, they didn't work. I uninstalled those drivers and I'm back to the way it was before, and it's working, so I'm happy with that. So maybe you guys will get a little better video quality tonight. I can definitely see my Marvel superheroes is coming in a lot clearer in the 2K. You can see Metal Slug playing in the background, which is cool. With this Retro Mania, it's got a TN monitor and it's sitting at an angle. So you guys may notice it's not as colorful. It's a little washed out, and that's why it's a TN. So if you're standing right in front of it, it looks good, but from this angle, it doesn't. But let's get into the chat. Let's say hi to everyone who's made it. I appreciate you guys joining. I do know that we had K-Fox on. He ended right on time. I had planned 8:45. That worked out perfect. But then I saw B-Kongs had started streaming Kongs Are Us. So I don't know if he still is, but I appreciate everyone who's joined because I know there's multiple streams going tonight. And it's been a really busy week, you know, very busy week with Operation Wolf, with Fast and the Furious. You know, I did 2 random streams in the morning that week, this last week, and it's just been a lot. And I kind of contemplated, should I even do a stream tonight? Because, you know, I didn't want to get burnout. And I still wanted to be creative and, you know, make sure that I was providing you guys out there with a quality stream where you guys would still want to attend and watch. And I didn't want to lose trust either in my viewers and like have a, I guess, a half-hearted stream and then, you know, you guys be dissatisfied. So, but let's say hi to everyone. I think I got enough content for tonight, so I think we'll make it happen. But Carl O has joined us. Good to see you, Carl O. Goofy Foot has made it as well. He is ready to chill. Good to see you, Goofy. Andy's Game Room. How diddly do, neighbors? Good to see you. And Thor, greetings, programs. Good to see you. And G.I. Joel has made it as well. I see you're going to be on Nerd Lounge Master 84 stream this week. I saw a Tuesday stream, so I'll be making sure that I watch that. I saw you're going to be a guest. That's really cool. And let's see, I guess that's it so far. We'll see if anyone else wants to join. And I'm going to start tonight's stream off on a little bit of, I guess, like not a good thing. You know, it was like, it has to do with my Attack from Mars pinball. So I play my Attack from Mars pinball all the time. I've been playing it less recently because I got my iiRcade and I just really haven't had much time really to play it because I've been playing my iiRcade. But I had turned my pinball on this last Friday night and just wanted to get a game in of some Attack from Mars, and I got just an okay game in, and then I played another game and I got up to 2 million points. My record is like 3 million, and I got like or no, my record may be like 30 million. I'm sorry, I'll have to check, but I think I got either 2 million of 3 million or I got 20 million, which would have put me at like my second best score. And then I got away from the pinball machine. I walked away from it and I could still hear the music playing in the background. And I wasn't away from the machine maybe for like a minute. And then all of a sudden the music stopped and I couldn't hear the music anymore. So then I walk over to the pinball machine and I'm looking at it and the screens are off. Both whatever, believe it's a 27-inch LCD screen. That was just like not on at all. It was just black. And then the back glass was just a solid like blue color, nothing on it. So I turn it off, I turn it back on, and it doesn't boot up. And it normally has this like boot up where it spins on each screen, the back glass and the main screen. It didn't do that at all. And then, so I unplugged it from its power source, plugged it back in, and again, still didn't work. So I was just fed up with it, went to bed, woke up the next day, and the next day, same thing, just doesn't want to boot up. So it's been kind of a tough Friday, Saturday, arcade one-up wise for me. Goofy Foot, he said, Carlo, they reset the Gunsuit leaderboards again. And Brooklyn's saying, what's up, fellas? Good to see you, Brooklyn. I watched your Friday night stream, the Friday night iiRcade show. It was really good this week with Michael. And I'm going to get into some Operation Wolf in this stream, so that'll be good to follow up on what you guys talked about. But let's get into this Attack from Mars. And basically, so starting here, I just want to kind of start from the beginning of when I purchased this thing. So I purchased it from Kohl's on September 2nd, 2022. And this, I want to remind everyone, is the most I've ever paid for an arcade one-up. My final fight, I paid $50 for that. I paid $150 for my Marvel superheroes. I paid $199 for my Miss Pac-Man, and I paid $215 for my NBA Jam. So this was by far above and beyond more than I paid for any arcade one-up before. And I paid a total of $487, you guys can see, with tax. So it was a pretty expensive product, and I bought it just in September. So it's not like something I've had very long. Bad Guy Mike Worley's joined us. Good to see you, Bad Guy. He is saying, hey guys. So I'm just talking about my Attack from Mars pinball, paying $487.34, the most I've ever paid for an arcade one-up. You know, this is, and just to remind people, this is something that I played a lot. It was something that I really enjoyed, and it was something very different in my game room. So I'd play my arcades, I go to this, it's totally different. And if you guys remember, I babied this thing. I wouldn't run it during my streams because I didn't want it to overheat. If you guys look back on my move, I did a really detailed move where like I wrapped everything in plastic wrap and bubble wrap. I even put this thing back in its original box. So, I mean, I babied this thing to no end to make sure that it didn't have any issues. And Carl O, he said, sorry about your issues, Biggie D. From what I hear, the PCB overheats. And yeah, I've seen on forums and Facebook where people have said they're getting new PCBs sent, that theirs have gone out. Hopefully the new ones that they're sending out are better and can hold up better than these ones that came from the factory. But I'm going to be keeping track of all this stuff so anyone out there that's got these pinballs can learn, you know, maybe hopefully from my experience. Brooklyn said, yes, they did Goofy Foot, I guess due to an update. They're talking about another game altogether. Gamer Price, good to see you. Glad you joined us. What is going on, Biggie? And G.I. Joel, was it stock or pinner modded? And that's a very good question, G.I. Joel. If you guys go back and look at some of my previous live streams, I always said I never wanted to do the pinner mod because I was afraid of this exact scenario. I was afraid of overheating the PCB and it not working. So this has been pretty difficult for me because I felt like I was doing everything I needed to do to make sure that it ran and you know, lasted a long time, many years, hopefully. And Carlo said, I have all my arcade cabs and V-pins on UPSs, and that may be something I need to look into. I'm not sure. We'll find out, hopefully more, and I'm going to get into that here in this live stream. So it died on me on the 21st while I was playing Attack from Mars. So I played 2 games. I got a decent score, and then I got a pretty good score. 2 million or 20 million, one of those two. And so here's me just trying to turn it on so you guys can see what it does. This is also the same video that I sent to Arcade One Up. And Gamer Price said here, PCB overheating is the biggest red flag for me. I just wouldn't take that chance. And Thor's laying out the prices for all the cabs he's bought, and it looks like he's gotten some pretty good deals on most of his. Looks like he paid a lot for Star Wars, but I don't think Star Wars, unless that's the pinball, is having any issues like this. So this is 7 months after purchase right here. And so here is a ticket. So I opened this ticket on Saturday, yesterday, the 22nd. Attack from Mars will not boot up. And then I received this right before the stream. So I'm about to get to know my pinball machine very well because they've got like an instruction manual of like troubleshooting steps that I have to do to help them pinpoint what's going wrong with this machine. And are the PCBs in a case? Yes, and that's something we're going to see here is in these instructions. So it's basically just saying here to open it up, to trace the ribbon cable from the PCBA to the main PCBA. Then we're going to basically look for lights. We're basically taking the case off of it and we're looking for lights. A green light, a yellow light, and a red light. And depending on what it's doing, I'm going to let them know what those are, what lights I'm seeing. And then I'm also going to send them a short video and some photographs of it opened up. So this isn't for like, people that have no technical skill. I mean, your average arcade one-up consumer is going to have a hard time doing all this type of work. Luckily, I work in IT, so I have, some familiarity with computers, and I can probably figure this kind of stuff out. But it's not going to be super easy. I've never done anything on a pinball machine before. I was hoping I didn't have to open it up for at least a few years, but after 7 months, I'm going to be opening it up and doing all this. And this is just troubleshooting to determine the issue. Once the issue is determined, then they're going to tell me what part it requires. And what gets me is, they haven't told me yet if they're going to charge me for these parts. They sent me all these instructions. Am I going to do all this work only to find out that the part's like $150, $200, which at that point I got to make a decision. I hope that I'm not going to even discuss that yet, because I hope they're not even going to discuss a price or bring up a price. Hope they just send me the part. It's only 7 months out of warranty, or 7 months since I purchased it, maybe 1 month out of warranty. So hopefully they make it right. They send me the part, and I can get all this stuff done and get it back up and running. And I'm hoping the new parts that they send out are of better quality than the original part, because then I'm just going to be in the same boat here in 7 more months. And if that's the case, do I sell it? Do I get it off my hands so I don't have to mess with it anymore and be done with these pinball machines? It's a lot to think about, and it kind of sours my whole taste on Arcade 1-Up right now, because with the arcades, they're pretty reliable. I think the pinballs are the issue, and that's probably why they're not doing them anymore. And this is probably a factor into why we heard they're not going to be doing pinball anymore. These things are just not reliable. Thor said here, but easily the worst deal I've ever got was an A1-Up Mortal Kombat Collectorcade for $60, particularly annoying because the sell price makes it not even worth returning. Total garbage. So yeah, the $60 I would be okay with, but $500, that's a different story. Carl O said, yeah, Arcade 1-Up has no clue when it comes to putting the PCB inside a metal box. And I hope like Tech Buzz, I think it was Tech Buzz on his show Game Time, I think he did something different where he opened his up and put a fan on it. So I may have to message him and see how he set his up, because I think he's had problems with his PCB on his pinball as well. And Goofyfoot says, nice, metal box under the monitor, no place for heat to dissipate, engineering marvels. So yeah, this is going to hopefully be a heating issue, because then I can, work around that. Maybe get a fan in there, maybe leave it open moving forward, and get advice from people that have already been through these types of issues already. Carl O said here, he goes, what's the manufacture date on your pinball? Reddit talks about this issue and they seem to have revisions. Okay, so hopefully this is a mass issue with like the model I have, and they'll just fix it and it'll be fine moving forward. So we'll see. And we'll see if my camera's working. I think I'm going to go back to my 2K and we'll see. Nope. So not working. So let me fix that for you guys. I was hoping it was going to make it, and it did not. So it's going to be 1080p, I guess, moving forward. So I get something new. I'm definitely looking at new cameras and stuff that I can use. But you guys probably can see with Metal Slug, it's probably not coming in as good anymore. But let's talk about Fast and the Furious. So Fast and the Furious was announced on 4/20. We've been hearing nonstop videos about it. I think pretty much all day we've been hearing Console Kits and K-Fox talk about it. So there's not much I want to add on Fast and the Furious. I mean, it's pretty much all been covered. It hasn't been released yet, so until we get a review, we really don't know what we're getting. But there are a few things I kind of wanted to point out on Fast and the Furious. And one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to compare it to the Ridge Racer. So I contacted PD7 today because he's got a Ridge Racer cabinet, and he measured it for me because for some reason Best Buy's got a measurement that is way off the table. It doesn't even make sense. It's like 58 inches or something like that, if I remember right. Really doesn't make any sense. But we measured it. Ridge Racer is 65 inches. So the Fast and the Furious is also the same height. So everything is basically, for size-wise, the exact same. There's not any difference in height. The steering wheel should come up to about the exact same height. The screen, all of that. One thing is, it is not going to be as wide, obviously, because you don't have the riser. But other than that, everything else is the same. But some differences obviously are the riser, the lit coin door, the fact that your marquee isn't just placed on top, it's built into the cabinet design. So there's a lot of differences there. But as far as size, pretty spot on as far as the height and all those dimensions. And that got me thinking, so, you know, I'm 6'4", and I had said this in my last live stream. I wanted to get this cabinet, but something that's holding me back from it right now is my height. I definitely got to make sure that I get a booster or a riser, and they can't use the same booster design that they used before, because in this design, in this new cabinet, there is no riser at all. So we're going to have to get something that's probably placed up under the cabinet, adding hopefully, you know, 6 to 8 inches is what likely I'm going to need at 6'4". And Gamer Price said here, he goes, do you know if the pedals had any upgrades in quality? And that is a good question. So I heard, and this isn't confirmed, but just from what I've heard, is they are the exact same pedals. So if you're looking at this image, they should appear and be the exact same pedals they used in Ridge Racer, which were decent pedals. There were many that upgraded them. They wanted better ones. So, you know, many might want to upgrade these as well, but they do the job. There shouldn't be anything you have to go out and get immediately with this one. And then, so this is just a promo video, and it brings up a good point. And another concern of mine, other than the overall height of it, is something I noticed in this video. So let's take a look at it again. So I don't know if you guys noticed it, but there's a point here in the video. I think it's right about, let's see, 7 seconds. You're going to see how much it shakes. And I don't know, see it shaking? And you're going to see it shaking there. And you're seeing it shake there as well. So does that concern you guys, being that it's not on a riser and it is something that you're putting a lot of force on left to right? Is that shaking at all concerning you guys? It definitely would for me. So that's another thing I had noticed in that video, is it going to be as stable on that new form factor with no riser? I know with the MK2 Deluxe, it was decent. It didn't have much stability issues. Also with the Pac-Man, no issues there. But this one, if we look at the design on it, they added these little extensions here in the front on each side of your feet, and that will keep it from tipping, but that's not going to help the left to right movement. So are we going to have issues with that, you know, moving forward on this one? That's something I want to see. Is this going to do this to me? And you can just see it rocking. But we'll have to see. So question is, will I buy this cabinet? Is this something that I'm going to get? And that's something I had kind of written down here, were a few things that I have to see. And one of them is I'll need to see some positive reviews. I've always said I'm not going to pre-order. I don't see any reason why on this cabinet I need to pre-order. They've made 6,000 of them. It's a Best Buy exclusive, so they're going to be in stores. They're going to be easy to find, easy to get. There's no reason to rush out and get Fast and the Furious. I want to see these reviews first, and I want to stick by that motto, never pre-order, because we said that after MVC2, and I think I need to keep that going even with some new exciting cabinets like Fast and the Furious. Thor said in those pics, it really looks like Ridge Racer is much wider, but I'm sure they're the same. So Ridge Racer is a little wider because of the riser itself. It makes it wider. But other than that, it should be the same exact dimensions. And then Bozo Calvin Jr., he said, how you doing? Just joined your channel. I pre-ordered the cab arriving on May 8th. Wasn't sure about buying a second one. So Bozo, he has already pre-ordered his. It's arriving on May 8th. That's awesome. And then as far as getting a second one, you know, that's a lot of money to fork out, you know, just starting out. Maybe get that first one, see if you like it. You know, make sure everything runs good on it. You don't run into any issues putting it together. And then, you know, maybe decide on getting that second one. Or wait it out and get a good deal, because there's, you know, a lot of probably deals to be had around, let's see, Thanksgiving for Black Friday. You know, if you can wait it out that long, I'm sure you're going to be able to at least get $100, maybe $200 off on this in 6 months from now. And Thor said it does look good. Probably won't get one, but I do like it. So this is one that I'm really interested in getting. I don't have a racer yet. I have the room in my new place for it. So it's something I definitely want to get. But these are things that I have to see before I do. And then let's see here. Goofy, he said, none of mine shake. What kind of floors do they have? So that's another thing. If it's on carpet, it may shake. If it's on a hardwood floor, it may not. So we'll have to see these reviews, but that promo video definitely doesn't do it any justice. Thor said pre-order might be the way to guarantee you don't have to find a better price. So there's that. Yeah, so you will not find a better price if you pre-order. That's for sure. But you will get it first. So maybe that's something that someone wants, you know. They want to get it first before anyone else. Or they're just, so, you know, they're a fan of Fast and the Furious, or they're just wanting a racing cab. You're going to go out and get it immediately. I was very tempted to go out and get it immediately. If I wasn't 6'4", I may be more tempted. Carl O said, you ever see Buy Stuff stores stand on top of At Games Gamer Pros in their stands fighting with lightsabers? That's strong. And Andy's Game Room says his Rampage one shakes. It's modded as a Defender cab on carpet. Yep, so that one's shaking. So and on my 3/4 scales, some of mine are different. Like my NBA Jam, it's a 4-player. It shakes a lot. Miss Pac-Man doesn't hardly shake at all. Marvel Superheroes shakes a little. So it also is up to each cabinet, probably when you put it together, how well the parts are put together, how well it came from the factory, things like that probably come into how well and sturdy it is. Number 2 thing that I'm going to have to find is what I mentioned earlier, is a booster or a riser. So I'm going to be looking for like a 6 to 8 inch riser that is going to have to be made, and they probably can't make it yet until they get the exact dimensions of these side panels. And then do I wait for a deal? You know, at that point, I've waited for the booster, or I waited for the riser. I've already seen good reviews. At that point, do I wait for a deal? It is a Best Buy exclusive. They have 6,000 units. I mean, they do sales on all their other cabinets. If you notice, they always do like $100 off on pretty much all their cabinets eventually. So this one could be, you know, $4.99 in 2 or 3 months. So maybe at that point I'm already getting a deal, or maybe I'll wait it out another 60 days or something. So I'm definitely not the person that's going to rush out and get this thing. And, you know, I do have a channel. I would like to get the review out, things like that, but it's not worth all the hassle and the risk you're taking if there's any issues with it, things that you don't like about it. It's best to learn, I feel, from other people and let them run out and buy it. And then these are just a couple of clips here on the gameplay, and let's see what everyone here has to say in the chat about it. They say, my ALU are rock solid. The ALU Mini shakes a little. So these, if you guys are looking at the games, the Ultimate Legends or the Ultimate Legends Mini, these are pretty good. They're pretty solid designs. I've seen them. They're especially the ALU, not the Mini, but the ALU, the big one's huge, and it's very wide. And Thor said here, he goes, I can understand wanting to get it right away. I would under different circumstances. Reed hadn't already overspent. And yeah, just bought the iiRcade not too long ago. I could pull the trigger on the $5.99 right now if everything, you know, was to my liking as far as the height. And just knowing that it has a good review would be nice. Carl O said, Bozo, get a second one for $3.99 around Christmas. So that's another thing. If you're looking to get a second one, I feel it's best just get the first one at the $5.99, wait it out a little while, especially Black Friday. That's when the deals are going to come. And we saw Ridge Racer, which was a newly announced cabinet. It was only about 6 months old, on Black Friday go down to $2.99. I think there were even some that got Ridge Racer for $1.99. So to get your second one, or to get 3 more at $600, you know, Black Friday would be incredible. And Bozo Calvin said again, he goes, I did, he got $100 off the price thanks to his store, MGM Carl. So he's letting Carl know he got another $100 off on this. And I think I remember during K-Fox's stream, you mentioning this as well. And I overheard that, where you get a discount through your company, through Best Buy. So that's really cool. That's a huge incentive to get it. So now you're getting it at a much better price than everyone else. So let's talk here about some Operation Wolf. So this is one title that I'm not going to be able to I'm not going to purchase because I can't play it in the ideal way. The ideal way is using a send-in light gun with USB where you plug it in right on the front of the game deck. Well, my standard edition cabinet does not have that feature. It doesn't have the USB input. So I can't play it. So now I can play it with the joystick and buttons, but I can't play it with the send-in light gun. So I've chosen not to get it. I'm going to just wait and try and get a gold edition maybe later on. But I'm really excited for those iiRcade fans and those iiRcade owners out there that do have the gold and they're able to experience this game. It's an incredible game. It's, you know, got to be probably one of the top 10 arcades of all time. It's definitely, in my eyes, probably one of my top 5. And it's just an incredible thing that iiRcade was able to achieve this and get this game. And I really think it's going to help in the long run as far as us as standard owners or original cabinet owners, because they're going to get new licenses. This is going to feed their ability to get better licenses, better games moving forward. And it's also going to give companies and the companies that make these games just more of a feeling that they can do business with iiRcade and not, you know, they see that they've done well with Operation Wolf, with Taito. That just gives them that confidence working with the iiRcade in the future. And one thing I wanted to show here was just a quick clip of the Operation Wolf game. You guys have probably already seen this, or you may have seen this already posted on YouTube on Friday, but I just wanted to play it real quick.
Operation initiated. Operation Wolf.
All right. So yeah, that's got me hyped for Operation Wolf, just seeing it on that trailer. But there were some good comments that came in while that was playing. G.I. Joel said they were showing the gameplay with and without guns. And I found out something really interesting too. I was watching the Game Days live stream on Friday, and Michael had pointed something really interesting out, that the gun itself is a joystick. So when that gun that was mounted on the original cabinet is really in just a joystick, and they were able to make the game work and make the aiming all accurate with that, which is pretty incredible. And that's how they were able to achieve that in 1987, was it, that this game was released? So that's how they made it happen, because they didn't have light gun technology back then. And that also kind of almost made me pull the trigger on getting it and using the joystick, just knowing that. But it's not the same, obviously, being on a gamepad as opposed to holding a gun. And then Carl O said it plays good with a trackball. It's a standard game on ALU for years. So that's a good point. I know that GRS Products, Glenn, is supposedly working on a iiRcade trackball. So that may be something I need to look into, is getting that, and then at least being able to have some experience, or good experience, with Operation Wolf that way. And then Brooklyn just said it's super challenging game. I've heard that. It definitely was at the arcade as well. And I've noticed, though, some people are pretty high on the leaderboards already. I noticed Papa Brad's like number 2 or 3 on the leaderboards already. And 19K Fox is up there at like 4. And I think I saw you as well, maybe in the top 10, Brooklyn. Or maybe you're still working on getting up there. But it is definitely a challenging game for sure. Bozo Calvin said, I'm the same way on, they should have been working on customers who put the first iiRcade joystick would be so difficult to play. And they're pretty honest and upfront about it is difficult to play it with the joystick. So be careful, when you purchase it. Don't expect it to be as good as a gun. And then Thor said, I bet the GRS yoke would be a decent way to play this too. So that'll be something, maybe I'll consider getting this game once that trackball comes out. But I haven't heard much about that, or when that's ever going to be released. But hopefully soon. I've been hearing about it for a long time. Bozo Calvin said, I'm a member of this arcade back in the day. I always loved it, and it was very tough. Same as with me, Bozo. I have a lot of memories of Operation Wolf. I'd played this game a lot. It was one of my favorite arcade games to play. And Brooklyn, we played it both ways on Friday. And he said Michael did a good job of balancing the play with the stick, but of course the light gun is the way to play it. And he said, I have been one-quartering it, and he keeps starting over when he loses. So that's cool. You're giving it more of an authentic experience rather than just quartering up constantly. And then Brooklyn said you can keep continuing and your score will add up. So that's why we've seen some really high scores, is they just keep quartering up until they get, there's a 1 score. I think the number 1 score is way up there, like way above everyone else. And Andy's Game Room said that would be pretty wild with the yoke. I'm looking forward to that. And then this is the price here. If you guys have wanted to see what it looks like on the store, it's $12.99. I think that's a pretty reasonable price for this game. They could have easily charged $14.99. People would have paid it. So $12.99 is good for a new title, especially one as big as this. Probably their biggest one they've ever done. And its rank is 277. I think it hasn't been on the what they use as a ranking long enough to really get a measurement of that. Also, you got to factor in that there's not as many gold owners as there are standard or original owners. So it may never get way up on the rankings based on that alone. And Thor said you might feel like you're manning a minigun or something. That's one way to look at it. And A-Tran Fanatic has made it. Good to see you. He said, I'm wondering if they ported the Wi-Fi Fast and the Furious version and tweaked it. And that's a good question. Oh, not the Wi-Fi, the Wii Fast and Furious version. I apologize. So the Wii version is just kind of like it's a console version of the Fast and the Furious arcade, but it had some things taken out of it, I believe, on the Wii version. So that's a good point on that. I know Raw Thrills did all the coding and ported it over for Arcade 1-Up. So I believe they used the arcade version for that. It's not an arcade port. It's like a completely new redone version of Fast and the Furious for Arcade 1-Up. It's like its own version. So I don't know if it's similar to Wii or similar to arcade. It's like its own, just made for Arcade 1-Up. So we'll have to see once we get it. I've heard all kinds of rumors about certain cars missing and things like that. So we'll have to find out. They haven't been too upfront on what it's all missing yet. And Andy's Game Room says, right, they'd be awesome. And Thor said, I'd say that's pretty likely, similar hardware. We'll have to get our hands on it. They haven't really told us much. You know, we didn't get a Q&A during the live stream, and Travis MCP it seemed like he's a little bit behind because he's been on like vacation and he hasn't been live streaming with them recently. So it sounds like he's got to get back in contact with his people to get us these answers on Fast and the Furious and what it's missing and what they've changed and, you know, what we can compare it to. John Phillips said, checking in from Chicago. Salute. Good to see you, John Phillips. Glad you made it. I saw some comments on some of my videos this week. You had some really good comments on some of my videos, like Street Fighter, the Pro Edition series with Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and some other comments. Good discussion. And Atran Fanatic, he said, yeah, I checked out a YouTube video on the gameplay on the Wii, and it looked kind of similar, just speculation though. And that's, yeah, I don't think anyone really knows yet. It was just announced on Thursday. Travis MCP streamed on, I think it was Thursday night or Friday with Michael B. And he didn't really have many answers yet on some things like that because he's been out of contact with Arcade 1-Up for a couple weeks, it sounds like. And he says it changes real quick. And I'm going to get into that here in just a moment. I got some really good notes on that interview. But this is kind of like the last little slide here I had on Operation Wolf. Just kind of wanted to let everyone know I may or may not get it. I'm going to probably have to wait for that trackball, that GRS trackball, before I get out there and buy this game. I did get a game, though, on Friday. It was called Into the Hunt. I did not know anything about it. I found out about it from watching the Friday night iiRcade show, and they had mentioned it. I didn't even know the game existed on the iiRcade. I went and looked it up, and it's an IRIM title, but it was made by the makers of Metal Slug. So it's a really cool game. It looks just like Metal Slug, too, and it plays like Metal Slug, but I feel like it's even better than Metal Slug because it's a submarine, and you can shoot up, and you can shoot straight, and then you can move through the water. And there's all kinds of other stuff going on that you don't get in Metal Slug. It's just a really cool game. I'm probably going to have to do like a live stream soon where we stream it for like 30 minutes so you guys can see it. And it looks really good too. It's like one of the best looking games on my iiRcade. Kevgret said $600 for Wii ports. Only Arcade 1-Up could pull this off. So yeah, I mean, if we'll have to see. And that's why I said I want to wait for the reviews. I don't want to rush out and pre-order it, and I don't want to get it. I want to see what other people have to say, and then I'll make my determination, or I'll get closer to buying it. I still have a few other things I need to figure out first. Atran said, thanks for the welcome, man. I went to Starfighter's Arcade yesterday with his wife, and he had a really good time. So Starfighter's Arcade is an arcade here in the Phoenix area in Mesa, and it's an incredible arcade. It's got all retro stuff, all your 80s, 90s, tons of really good pinball. They've got some shooters and some racers in the back. It's a really cool arcade. When I lived in Mesa, I enjoyed going there. I probably went there 4 or 5 times in the year that I lived in Mesa. But now I'm on the west side. I'm in Glendale, and I went to Player One Arcade in Surprise, Arizona last weekend. Had a really good time there. It's much smaller, and it's more focused on pinball, less arcades, but it's not as good as Starfighters. I've heard Starfighters is the best in the Phoenix area. Carlo said, "What's up, Atran?" And he also said hi to John Phillips as well. And Bozo said, "That's why I'm going to test the new cab once mine arrives. Give me thoughts on this." So yeah, definitely let us know when you get this Fast and the Furious. You know, are you enjoying it? Are you liking it? Let everybody know. And Carlo, Kevgred, I missed your golf matches with Rexer. They must have done a stream with the Golden Tee, the real Golden Tee that they got. And Brooklyn saying the co-op too. And Kevgret says Rexer has a small injury. Once he's healed up, will resume. So I know he had like shoulder surgery or something like that recently. I was curious as how that was going. So I guess he's still recovering. And he said he's playing around right now. I guess he's listening while he's playing his Golden Tee. And Thor said, "Oh yeah, you're in Arizona. Miss Thor KC is from Tucson." Okay, so Tucson's not very far. I've only been in Arizona a little over a year. Been here about 14 months. I haven't made a trip down to Tucson yet. But I went up to Lake Pleasant, if you know the area, yesterday. And I went paddleboarding. That lake is pretty fun. It's nice because I've been in the desert for over a year now, and I haven't been to a good lake. But that Lake Pleasant reminds me of Dallas and the size and the accessibility of the lakes we have there in Texas. And Brooklyn said a big part of the Friday night arcade show is showing people the games. So I'm happy to hear you found a title you enjoy from watching the show. Yeah, that was huge. Finding that Into the Hunt. Didn't even know existed. And the way the iiRcade store, and many of you out there probably can relate, the iiRcade store needs a facelift. This thing is like, it doesn't look good. It's not got any, eye appeal at all. And it's very boring. And it's hard to even get through the games to find the ones you want because the website is so freaking boring. So hopefully they can fix that up to where people can find the stuff they want to find, because there are some gems on this cabinet and I didn't even know it. And they need to find ways to better promote these games. I know they're doing these, you guys will see this attract mode going on behind me. They're doing this now, and I think this helps because you at least get to hear it a little bit and see some of these games. And they're going to focus, Michael said, on updating these attract mode screens to show the newest, best games out there so everyone knows they exist. And crap, hope he's doing better. I hope he is too. That's tough with the surgery. He said it's an old baseball injury, I remember him saying. And Buzza said, "Yes, I sure will. Thank you, Biggie D, for your understanding." Yeah, if any thing you can do to help us as far as, potential people that may want to purchase this cabinet, let us know. And Atran said he got over 100 arcade racing games running on his PC, modded with Ridge Racer. And so this brings up a good point. I was thinking about getting the Sending gun and taking one of my extra PCs and trying to get it to work. I think the Sending will work with certain things. So, or does anyone know out there, this is a good question. I have a RetroPie in this arcade cabinet here. Can I hook a Sending up to a RetroPie and just load the ROMs of these shooters on my cabinet, my RetroPie cabinet? Will it work? I need to find that out. And KC said, here he goes, "That's probably my only real problem with Fast and the Furious is I've already invested in a PC and console racing games." Yeah, see, if you're already heavily invested in these, racing setups and things, you may not want to run out and buy Fast and the Furious because you already have something, as good or better. But that Fast and the Furious cabinet does look really cool. Those colors and that artwork on the side, it's going to stand out in the game room. So many may just buy it for the visual, appeal it has. And Carlos said, "What is going on with the iiRcade? Are they not going to make any future cabinets? Need to clarify what the future roadmap is." So that's a good question. I know K-Fox brought that up as well. And I don't know the answer to that question. My thought, like if I was a betting man and I had to put money on it, I'm saying that they got gold cabinets coming and they're really just trying to build the anticipation, and they're trying to throw everyone off and they probably have these gold cabinets already reskinned and lined up. And they may have licensing agreements on these new skins where they can't talk about it until it gets announced. So they're very tight-lipped on a lot of their stuff at iiRcade. So maybe they already have the agreements in place, or the cabinet's already getting made, or they're already getting shipped, and we just don't know about it yet. That's my thought. And if I was a betting man, that's what I would say. I would say cabinets are on the way. iiRcade looks really strong right now. I don't see them going without, you know, hardware or the ability to purchase games, because if we don't have the hardware, we can't buy the games. So I don't see them doing that for very long. And they have a RetroPie build. Okay, so that's very cool, guys. That may be my my ticket right now to playing Operation Wolf, because I'm so hyped up for Operation Wolf. And I saw B-Kong's thumbnail today, and he's playing Operation Wolf, which I imagine is on a modded cabinet. I need to just do that, you know, rather than worrying about getting a gold. I just need to get a RetroPie build on this baby and just start playing it there. Won't be a 19-inch screen, but it'll be something. And Carlos said, I'm not investing in an iiRcade if they are leaving the cabinet market. And Thor said, yeah, if I find a deal, I probably will grab 2 of them so my wife and I can race. And Kevgred here, he said, they said no golds and no home console, but one of them has to be false. Yeah, they've got to be doing something. They got to have something on the way. They can't make money if they can't sell cabinets. And they're not a big enough company right now to just live off the software alone. So something's coming. All right, so guys, I got some notes here to finish out the live stream. These were notes I took during the Michael B stream. Let's talk with Travis MCP. Can't remember the date of this. It was either Thursday night after the announcement. I believe that was it. Thursday night. I'll go with that. But I had some really good notes here that I thought were interesting. So he says, Arcade1Up has problems communicating within the company. He said, being an outsider, basically, he's under this NDA, but he's not an employee of the company. But he gets to see some of the inner workings of the company, and he's noticing problems with communication within their own company. So this is like a concern of his, you know, obviously, and he's relaying that to us as customers to kind of give us an idea of what it's like in you know, what we're investing our money in as far as a product. You know, we're not buying stock or anything like that, but we are buying product that is, you know, helping this company advance and continue to be in business. He also said Code Mystics leaderboards. So this is interesting. So if you guys see Code Mystics on the screen, the launch track mode screen on the Fast and the Furious cabinet, it's going to say Code Mystics at the bottom. The reason that is this is their Gemini software, and they've licensed the Gemini software to Arcade1Up for any of the cabinets that have leaderboards. So like my Miss Pac-Man, it has, when I turn it on, it says Code Mystics at the bottom. And that's because the leaderboard system that Miss Pac-Man uses was created by Code Mystics. So no one gets confused. Raw Thrills made Fast and the Furious for Arcade1Up. The only reason you're seeing that Code Mystics is that Gemini leaderboard. I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that till he had said it. Now, it is an arcade port that Raw Thrills did. Now, one concern he has about it is going to be the frame rate. So Fast and the Furious ran at a frame rate of 60 frames per second. They have brought that down to 30 frames per second in order to run on the existing current PCB, the hardware that Arcade1Up has. So that's a major concern of his. Now, he did mention that Cruisin' ran at 30 frames per second. So it may not be all that bad, but it's not going to be the true arcade accurate experience because we're running at half the frames. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and also a concern of mine as well. But I think we're going to get towards the end of my notes that we're going to kind of get some light at the end of the tunnel on that. So Atran said, yeah, I took out my supports on the Ridge Racer riser, then stacked them on the bottom to slightly lift the cabinet up. Then he used a stock Arcade 1-Up riser to mount his racing seat on, and it's still a work in progress. So that's really cool. You got like the full racing setup with the chair and the seat and all that. That's really cool. And we'll have to see some photos and stuff of what that looks like when you get done with it. And and then Andy's Game Room said no surprise. He may be commenting on that, the problems communicating with Arcade 1-Up or the frame rate dip of 30 frames per second. Now, he did say that there is an MK, so this was really cool. He said that there is going to be another MK, it sounds like. He didn't mention MK4, but he did say there's going to be another Mortal Kombat cabinet coming next year, it sounds like, and it's going to be an XL. He's like, feels really strong on that. Their next Mortal Kombat cabinet will be an XL cabinet. And why would they not do Mortal Kombat 4 if they're bringing it back again? You know, they've redone Mortal Kombat, what, like 3 or 4 times now. So why not do 4 this time? I think that's a pretty safe bet that we're going to get that. And anyway, I had Scud Racing running on my Ridge Racer right now, and it's one of the last arcades I played in the early 2000s before they closed the arcade at Superstition Springs Mall. So you've been here a while, Atran. You know it from way back in the early 2000s. So I'm a new person here, only a year, about 14 months. I've been in Arizona now. And Andy's Game Room says communication. Sorry. Okay, so he's talking about the communication within the company. And it's no surprise that they're having issues. And that's, you know, somewhat normal too with new companies. You got to work out the kinks. You got to learn how to communicate as a company. I mean, that's a major issue for most companies. Even bigger companies sometimes have problems with that, you know, ability to communicate properly. And let's see here. So we also have, this was interesting. So we asked a bunch of questions on new arcade cabinets and new Arcade 1-Up cabinets coming in the future. And he said he had some ideas, or like they had some ideas and he knew about them. And it sounded like he may tell us a little bit or give us some teases, but he didn't want to do that because he says the new releases that they're considering change so often. So like each month or each couple weeks, it could drastically change on what Arcade 1-Up is going to be making as far as new releases. So it's very, very dynamic, and it's ever changing, it sounds like, as far as new releases at Arcade 1-Up. Something they may consider one week will change the next week. He also said this, as far as Fast and the Furious, their plan was to have 4 linked cabinets in, I believe, San Francisco in John D's office, ready to do the 420 live stream. But it didn't happen because they couldn't get their hands on 4 Fast and the Furious units. And I don't think they could get them in California in time. So it sounds like they're being shipped to Florida or the East Coast. So they were able to get them in Miami in time, but they were only able to get 1. So they had this huge, big show planned. And that's why that thumbnail had those 4 silhouettes, is they were going to link all 4 of them and have this huge demonstration for us. But that ended up falling through, and we didn't get to see that, unfortunately. So maybe they'll do that for us later. They should do a demonstration of the 4 together, all linked up. That would be cool. He also said there is going to be 1 review unit of Fast and the Furious going out. And he's pretty upfront. I mean, this guy is telling us like information we were never privy to before. He's telling us we only get 1 review unit on this one, and he already knows who it's being sent to. It's being sent to She-Lion Gaming. So look for her channel probably over the next couple weeks, between now and the 8th of May. She's probably going to have a review up of this review cabinet she's getting from Arcade 1-Up. I do know she owns a full-size Fast and the Furious, so I guess that's good comparison to be able to compare the 2 and put them side by side. So hopefully those reviews come out good, and that'll probably be our first one we see is through her. And then let's see here. So they said right now Arcade 1-Up, and this is probably the most important thing I heard in the entire live stream, and it's the last thing that I had in my notes, was that right now, Arcade One Up is in like a saving money mode, right? And they actually went a little cheaper on the chipset for the Fast and the Furious, which I think is the same chipset we had in MVC2 and Blitz. You know, one of those two chipsets that they've already used previously. So it's not a very powerful one. That's probably why they had to do the dip in the frame rate from the 60 to the 30. But this is really cool. He said they've already sourced a new chipset, which is much more powerful. Sounds like it may be on par with like At Games and their new chipset. And he said they're going to be able to run anything they want, basically. Like pretty much anything that they want. So like all the Tekken games that he wants to get, you know, all these early 2000s games that they've had trouble running, especially at the higher frame rate we've seen in Fast and the Furious, they'll be able to do that on future cabinets. Also, maybe that'll open up the door for, you know, better online capabilities, things like that. So definitely look for future cabinets. He said this is going to start after Fast and the Furious. So whatever cabinet comes next, that's going to be the one that's going to get these newer chips, these newer PCBs that are going to be able to handle heavier workloads and better games, better graphics. So that's pretty exciting. And I'm going to have to start thinking of ideas of cabinets that are going to use a more powerful PCB or more powerful chipset. What games would take advantage of that and benefit the most? I know they will probably have to do another MVC2 cabinet with a better online. Maybe that they'll do like an XL or a Pro of MVC2. Maybe the Street Fighter Pro that's going to come will have this, so they can run like Third Strike and Second Impact and all these higher end games. And then, you know, anything in the future, House of the Dead, you know, these major titles that people that want to see these games be made, they're going to need these better chipsets, these better PCBs in the future. So all really cool stuff. Sounds like they're, you know, Arcade One Up has had some issues, and there was kind of like a little bit of a decline in the amount of cabinets they were releasing. And they're kind of getting their head above water again, and they're making a little progress. They brought out, you know, these deluxe cabinets, now the Fast and the Furious. They get some sales, and they start selling these units. That's going to bring in revenue for the company. And it sounds like they've already got plans in place to invest that money in better products moving forward. So very cool stuff. Atran said here, and let me get your chat here in front. It says, I'm also going to make a custom 4-speed shifter out of an extra EG starts joystick, and I have laying around, and may make some kind of shift plate for it for Ridge Racer. So you got a really cool setup going. A lot of really cool stuff that you're doing with this Ridge Racer cabinet. And Bozo Calvin Jr. said, I'm the OG of arcades, wishing they had Smash TV, Total Carnage, and Narc. Love Spy Hunter. All really cool. I'd speculated a lot on Smash TV. I hope we get that one. And Atran, he's saying he's lived in Arizona since '88. So he's been here a while. And so that's a long time. You know this area well. You probably know where all the best arcades are. And Andy's Game Room, as long as it can run Qbert, I'm happy, laughing out loud. That's a good comment. Yeah, I definitely think we can run Qbert. I'm going to have to start thinking of ideas of games that, like I said, that are going to best benefit from what I think this new chipset can run. And this kind of opens the door and possibilities to all kinds of cool stuff. So exciting week. A lot to cover this week. It's been crazy with all the stuff that's happened. And, you know, it was all this build up, and it all happened this weekend. So I am worn out. I don't know when I'm going to make another video. Hopefully I can get a video out this week. And I'm hopefully going to be on Arcade Anonymous on Wednesday. I thought I was going to be on there full time moving forward. We'll have to see. They did say I'll be back this week. So well, I'm looking forward to that. I like being on that live stream and sharing that time with the other guys in the community and just talking about random stuff. I think it's a lot of fun. And Steps is saying it's Biggie D. Good to see you, Steps Gaming. Glad you made it here towards the end of my live stream. I've been going about an hour and 7 minutes now. So this is one of my longer ones. A little long-winded, I guess, on some of this stuff. But it's been good chatting with everyone. And Atran said Qbert was one of the harder games to run in MAME and on his PC. And he is building a 4-player TMNT arcade 1-up cabinet. So that's interesting. So Qbert's going to need more horsepower as well. Interesting. Okay, so that's good. Maybe right in time for Qbert to be made. And Kevgret said, please let this news cycle end tonight. Yeah, I'm ready to move on to some new subjects and be more creative going into next week. I want to like do new stuff, right? Just all new stuff. And Andy's Game Room, I'd like to see them get Marble Madness going in a cab. That would be a fun family cab. I've heard a lot about Marble Madness. I think that would be a good one. And Step said, sorry, I'm playing shmups. Throwing some support though. Thank you. I appreciate you joining, Steps. And Bozo said, I went to this arcade called Boxcar. Had so many old school retro games. Was shocked of Qbert and Track and Field. Those are very good arcade games. I love them. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up tonight. I hope everyone has a good rest of their Sunday night, a good start to the week. And I will see everybody in the next video. Bye-bye.